And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome aboard. I'm National Weather Service Meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Marine Weather Outlook on this Sunday, June 29th, 2025. We start with the sea ice. We have a lot of open water through the lower Chukchi Sea. Still some lingerings of shore-fast ice outside of Kotzebue Sound, especially up through Kivalina up to Point Hope. And we find ice still in place around Utqiagvik, but at least there is some openings beginning to develop along both the Chukchi Sea coastline and as we go around the Beaufort Sea, especially over toward the Mackenzie River. And this will only continue to open up because we have some very warm temperatures heading along this way here as we go through this upcoming week into the 4th of July weekend. We're going to have some temperatures in the 70s, even 80 degrees, Brooks Range, North Slope. In fact, even as of this Sunday afternoon, New Exit was 73 degrees at 2 o'clock. So definitely a warmer pattern is going to be building up across this region later in the week and for next weekend. So looking at the surface weather map, we have an area of low pressure, another one coming up toward the outer Panhandle coast that'll bring some additional areas of rain or rain showers, especially to the southern half of the Panhandle on Monday. Should not be that windy of a system, but it can be wet again. Still some lingering showers along northern Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound, and then this system here coming across the Bering Sea is going to have somewhat breezy. There could be a few gusts up to near gale force, generally small craft conditions with this frontal system, along with some moderate rainfall that'll be pushing into the southwest coast, YK Deltas, Kuskokwim, Bristol Bay, as we go into Monday and Tuesday. And so Monday afternoon, here's the low sitting off of the outer coast there of the Panhandle in the east-southeastern Gulf, so still some showers with that feature. We still have, as we go west, this rain showers and areas of rain will push further inland into the southwest interior. And this rain may get as far north as across areas of the Seward Peninsula and around Norton Sound as we get into later Monday and even early Tuesday. And by Tuesday afternoon, the one low is sitting out here, pretty much the same location off the Panhandle coast, keeping a few lingering showers going there. We have this low that's going to be heading southeastward into the North Pacific while crossing the Alaska Peninsula Tuesday night and early on Wednesday, but still a fair amount of rain showers, areas of rain extending along the southwest coast, essentially from the Seward Peninsula all the way down across the Alaska Peninsula and even coming up into Kodiak Island with more of a southerly flow out ahead of it. So here's the marine forecast for Monday. Inner channels, north winds 15 knots, that's Lynn Canal, Stevens Passage, 2-3 foot waves. Southeast winds to 20 knots, 3-4 foot waves here, Ketchikan, Metlakatla. Off of Craig and Prince of Wales Island, south winds to 15 knots, waves 5 feet. Sitka, Port Alexander, northerly winds 15 to 20 knots, and then we'll find northwest to west winds outside of Cross Sound and Yakutat Bay with waves of 4 feet. On Tuesday, we find generally southeast winds 10 to 15 knots across the inner channels. Waves maybe a couple of feet, 2 to 3 feet here, Ketchikan, Metlakatla. Onshore, 10 knot southwest wind here, Prince of Wales Island, and then southerly winds off of Sitka, 10 knots. And look for west-northwest winds from Cape Suckling down to outside of Cross Sound, and waves generally 3 to 4 feet. Across the northwestern Gulf, starting with Prince William Sound, Hinchinbrook entrance, and along the Kenai coast to northeast of Kodiak Island, a broad area of just light variable winds around 10 knots. Waves within Prince William Sound a couple feet at best, 3-4 feet outside of Hinchinbrook entrance. And then southeast wind, lower Cook Inlet, 15 knots, turning southerly as you get round out there from Anchor Point. Maybe waves 4 or 5 feet, and then southwest winds, upper Cook Inlet, especially north of Kenai, on up toward Anchorage with waves of 2 to 3 feet. On Tuesday, still variable winds within Prince William Sound, outside of Hinchinbrook entrance to Kayak Island, along the Kenai coast, just 10 knots, waves a couple of feet. Southeast winds, though, into lower Cook Inlet to 20 knots, Kamishak Bay, waves 4 or 5 feet, and then south-southwest winds as we round up Anchor Point and go up to Upper Cook Inlet. South-southwest winds 10 knots, waves maybe 2 or 3 feet tops. And for Monday across Kodiak Island, southwest winds 15 knots, 2 3-foot waves within Shelikof Strait, variable winds 10 knots on the east side of Kodiak Island. And as we trail out along the peninsula, winds generally south-southwest, 15 to 20 knots, though a bit stronger there. Cold Bay kind of on the edge of some stronger wind field they'll have pulled through the Pribilovs. And then for Tuesday, look for east-southeast winds around Kodiak Island, 15 to 20 knots. On the North Pacific side, winds will be southeast, becoming southwest off of False Pass, as high as 20-25 knots. And then within Bristol Bay, southeast winds to 30 knots, turning south-southwest 25 to 30 knots, and waves generally 6-7 feet. So with the low circulation that's up there towards St. Matthew, we have generally south-southwest flow 25-30 knots across much of the eastern central Aleutians, becoming a bit more westerly to 20 knots, falling off up just a tad there west of Kiska. For Tuesday, generally west winds across the eastern central Aleutians at 20 to 25 knots from Unalaska through Atka and Adak. And then as we get west of Adak, west winds 15 knots, but those pick back up to 25 knot southwesterly winds between Kiska and Shimia in advance of the next front that'll be approaching from the west and northwest. So some of the stronger winds on Monday will be in the southeast bearing near the Pribilovs, just east of there. And coming up into Kuskokwim Bay, we're looking at south-southwest winds 30 knots, Kuskokwim Bay back toward east of the Pribilovs, south winds to 25 knots within Bristol Bay. And then as we come up along the lower Yukon coast and Norton Sound, winds will be out of the south-southeast at 20 knots, waves generally running 3-4 feet. On Tuesday, we have the area low pressure that's going to slide southeastward like this, so ahead of it, generally southeast winds as high as 30 knots within Bristol Bay, 20 knots within Kuskokwim Bay, and then 15 to 20 knots along the lower Yukon coast up into Norton Sound. And for the Bering Strait, the west side of the Seward Peninsula, north side of St. Lawrence Island, look for east-southeast winds to 25 knots, waves 5 to 6 feet in the open water. 20-knot east wind out of Kotzebue Sound, becoming southeasterly, rounding Cape Lisburne and Point Hope. And then pretty much from Wainwright all the way eastward along the Beaufort Sea coast to Kaktovik, easterly winds to 10 knots, still a fair amount of ice there, but again, it's going to be melting off in the week ahead as warmer temperatures set up there across the far north. And then finally on Tuesday, we're looking at easterly winds 15 to 20 knots along the Beaufort Sea coastline, Kaktovik through Utqiagvik, turning northeasterly 15 to 20 knots, Wainwright to Cape Lisburne, and then easterly winds 20 to 25 knots off of Point Hope and out of Kotzebue Sound. Finally, southeast winds to 20 knots along the west side of the Seward Peninsula, waves 5-6 feet there, especially off of Wales and Port Clarence, and then generally east winds to 10 knots on the north side of St. Lawrence Island on Tuesday.